Okay, let us start part 3 of the Heikel. Okay, this question is asking you to find the volume of the pyramid. Okay, now what do I notice? I notice on my triangle, I don't have the base. So in this triangle, in my right triangle, I only know my hypotenuse and I know my height. I need to know my base. Okay, so base of triangle equals square root of c squared minus your height squared, which is your a or whatever. So I'm going to use here b. Actually, it's a because 5 is smaller than this line, so that will be a. Okay, so to find any part of your missing, to find any missing part of your right triangle, you have to use Pythagoras theorem. So this is 13 squared minus 5 squared. This is 169 minus 25. This should give you 144, and this should give you 12. So your triangle here is 12. So here in your picture is 12. Okay. Now, what does the question want? The question wants volume of triangular prism. Volume of triangular prism is given by base area times height. Okay. Now, what is the shape of your base? The shape of your base is a triangle. How do you get area of triangle? So you need area of triangle times the height of the prism. How do you get area of triangle? You get area of triangle by doing half times base times height of triangle times height of prism. Now, according to your picture, your base is 12. That's what you found over here. Your height of your triangle is 5, and the height of your prism is 3. Okay, that's how long your prism is. Now, this will give you 6, and this will give you 15. And 6 times 15 is 90. And because this is volume, you write here cubic meters. And you box your answer. Okay, so same thing. I look at my triangle. I don't have my height. So height of triangle is going to be square root c squared minus a squared, which is square root 34 squared minus 16 squared, which should give me square root of 900, which should give me 30. Okay, then I need to find volume of triangular prism, which is equals to base area times height of the prism. Okay, which equals to area of triangle, because my base is a triangle, because this is a triangular prism. So area of triangle times the height of the prism. Area of triangle is given by half times base times height of the triangle times height of the prism. Now, this is half. The base of the triangle is 16. The height of the triangle is 30. And the height of the prism is 22. This gives me 8. This gives me 660. And this will give me 5,280 cubic centimeter. And I box my answer. Okay, same thing here. I have my triangle, which is like this, something similar to this, or it is like this. Okay, so this is 12 and this is 13. So I need the height. I don't have the height. So height will be square root of c squared minus a squared, which will give me 13 squared minus 12 squared, which will give me 169 minus 144, which will give me square root of 25, which will give me 5. Okay. Then, now I need to find the volume of the pyramid, of the prism, triangular prism. So volume of triangular prism equals to base area times height of the prism. Okay, which my base area is area of triangle times the height of the prism. Area of triangle is given by a half times base times height of the triangle times height of the prism. So this is half. The base of the triangle is what? 12. The height of the triangle is 5, and the height of the prism is 25. And this should give you 6 times 5 times 25. This should give you 30 times 25, and that should give you 750. And because it is volume, cubic meters. Okay, the question is asking you, what is the volume to be removed? Now, what should I ask myself? What shape am I removing? It says construction workers are digging a tunnel through a mountain. The space inside the mountain is to be shaped like a rectangular prism. So the dimensions are 20 feet high, 50 feet wide, and 90 feet long. Okay, so volume of rectangular prism equals to base area times height. Okay, base area of a rectangle is length times width because it's a rectangle. Okay, so area of rectangle is given by length times width, and then you need to multiply by the height. So use the values that you've been given. The length is 900, the width is 50, and the height is 20. When you multiply all these numbers together, you should get 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 900,000 cubic feet. And this is your answer. The greenhouse is the shape of a square pyramid. Okay. And the base is 30. The base side length is 30 and the height of the pyramid is 18. What is the volume? So you start volume of pyramid. And you have to make sure you're writing the correct formula. Equals to 1/3 base area times height of the pyramid. Okay? So it is 1/3 times the base area is area of a square, area of square. How do I know? Because it told me a square pyramid times the height. Now I'll put my value, my formula, 1/3 times S times S. S times S is the area of a square, and then the height. Now let's put our values. 1/3 multiply 30 times 30, and then multiply by 18. This will give you 6 multiply 900, and this should give you 54. 5400 cubic. What is the unit? Yards. Cubic yards. And you box your answer. Okay. Here you have a pyramid, and it is a square pyramid. So volume equals volume of pyramid equals 1/3 multiply base area multiply height of pyramid. Okay. Now 1/3 multiply area of square, because my bottom shape is a square. Area of square multiply height. Okay. Area of square becomes side times side, and then you're going to multiply by height. So this is 1/3 times 5 times 5 times 8. Okay. This should give you 200/3 cubic feet. I will stop here, but if it asks you to round, you need to change your answer to a decimal. That should give you 66.6. It's a repeating decimal. Cubic feet. And then you round it according to what the question wants you to do. Okay? Okay, now here you notice you have a what? You have a pentagon at the base. So you need to find the area of the pentagon. Okay, so that is step 1, because you need the base area. So how will you find the area of the pentagon? First, you need to find the central angle of the triangle. Okay. Okay, so this angle here, you need to find it. So central angle equals to 360 divided by the number of sides. So that will be 360 degrees divided by 5. That will give you 72 degrees. Okay. So you're going to put here 72 degrees. What else do you know? You know that this is 4 inches. Now, you need a right triangle. So you're going to draw your right triangle. Why do you need a right triangle? Because you want to find the height of your triangle. And the height of the triangle is this distance here. So you need only half of that big triangle. So you need to find half of 72 to put it over here. So you 72 divided by 2 gives you 36. So you put 36 degrees over here. This is 90. Okay. Now, remember the distance from here to here is 4. So the distance from here to here will be 2. Okay. Then this is opposite. You're going to use SOHCAHTOA. This is hypotenuse, and this is adjacent. Okay? Now, you want to find the adjacent because that's the height of the triangle. So you remember to write SOHCAHTOA. So you want opposite and adjacent because you only have opposite and you want adjacent. So you're going to use tan. So you're going to write tan 36 equals to opposite over adjacent. Okay. Now I will do here 1, and then I will do butterfly method. Okay. So opposite is ithnena. It is 2. So you'll have adjacent tan 36 equals to 2 times 1. And then I want adjacent, so I will divide by tan 36. I will divide both sides by tan 36. So I'll be left with adjacent is 2 over tan 36. And this is the same as the height of the triangle. Okay, so up to there, we are good. So now remember the base has 5 triangles, okay? So this is the height of one triangle. So now I want to find the volume of this pyramid. So I'm going to write volume of pyramid equals to 1/3 multiply area of 5 triangles, because that's my base, area of 5 triangles, and then multiply by the height of the pyramid. Okay, so this is 1/3 multiplied by 5 multiplied by half multiplied by base of the triangle multiplied by height of the triangle and multiply by the height of the pyramid. Okay, now let's put our values. This is 1/3 multiply 5 multiply 1/2 multiply 4 multiply 2 over tan 36 and then multiply by 6. When you do all this, you should get 55, 0, 55, 27, and then you round according to what the question says. This one here, the unit is cubic inches. Cubic inches. And you box your answer. Okay, then now we need to do this one, and it is a pyramid. Okay, now if you notice on the picture, this is not the height of the pyramid. This is the slant height of this triangle. So you need to find the height of the pyramid. So the height, so you're going to find, you have this, wait. So you want to find height of pyramid, height of pyramid. Remember, height of pyramid must come from the center, at the top center to the bottom center. It should be here, okay? This is the slant height. So you'll do this and this and this, okay? You know this is 4 feet. No, that's not 4 feet, because you'll need half of the 4. So this will be 2 feet, and this will be 6 feet. You want to find the height of the triangle, okay? I mean, height of the pyramid. So height will be square root c squared minus a squared. Use Pythagoras theorem. So that will give you 6 squared minus 2 squared. And that will give you 36 minus 4. And that will give you square root of 32. And that will give you 4 root of 2. Now let's find volume of pyramid. Volume of pyramid equals to 1/3 multiply base area multiply height of pyramid. What is your base? Your base is a square. Okay, so you have 1/3 multiply S multiply height. So you're gonna have 1/3 multiply 4 multiply 4 multiply 4 root 2. Okay, this should give you 64 root 2 over 3 cubic feet. And if they ask you to round, change it to decimal. So your decimal should be 30.19169, not 19, 16988. And then you round it according to the question. Okay? You box your answer. So your answer can either be these two, depending on how the choices have been written. Okay, now question is asking you to find the volume of cylinder. Okay, so volume of cylinder equals to base area times height. The base area of a cylinder is a circle. How do you find area of a circle? Pi r squared, and then you multiply by the height. Now, according to this question, the radius is 2x and the height is x minus 2. So you're going to put pi 2x and you square it, and the height is x minus 2. Question A says, find the volume of the cylinder in terms of x and pi. You can stop over here, or you can expand this. This becomes pi 4x, x minus 2, or this becomes 4x, sorry, this should be x squared here, 4x cubed, because you're going to do distributive property. So you distribute all this inside here. So if you multiply this, x squared and x squared becomes x cubed. 4 comes and pi comes. Now you do for the same thing. You're going to have negative 8x squared. Okay? This is the best answer. This can also be your answer. And this can also be your answer. Okay? All right. So then what is the units we are using? Millimeters. So cubic millimeter, cubic millimeter, and here cubic millimeter. So this is the best answer because you've simplified your expression. Now they have told you that x is 10. So just replace 10x with 10. So you're going to continue over here. You're going to write 4 parentheses 10 to the third power multiplied by pi minus 8 parentheses 10 to the second power. So this is 4 multiply 1000 multiply pi minus 8 multiply 100. This will give you 4000 pi minus 800. Why did I forget pi? There should be pi over here. Sorry. There should be pi over there. Okay. And then here we should also have pi. And here we should have 800 pi. Now, these are friends. I can subtract them. So this should be 3200 pi. Okay? Okay, then now if I want, yes, I need to round this to the nearest I need to round this to the nearest tenth. Okay. So we need to change it to decimal. All right. So this is 3200 multiplied by okay. And you should get 10053.096. We are rounding to the nearest tenth. Circle the 0, underline the 1, add. Our answer is 10053 and 1/10. And what is our unit? Cubic millimeter. Cubic millimeter. And you box your answer. Okay? Right. Okay, let's move on. Volume of cylinder. So you continue. Volume of cylinder equals to base area times height. Base area is pi r squared, height. So you have pi, our radius. What have we been told? The volume of a cylinder with a diameter of 6 centimeters shorter than the height. So diameter is x minus 6. I want radius. It will be diameter divided by 2, which is x minus 6 divided by 2. So I will put here x minus 6 divided by 2, and then I will square it. Okay, I don't need to use the parentheses here. Just okay, and then the height is x. All right, so then I can leave it like this. Now, so this will be the answer to A. Or you can rewrite this. It will be pi x minus 6 divide 2 squared. And then what is your unit? Centimeter. So this will be cubic centimeter. Okay. So you leave it like that. And then find the volume if the height is 14. Height is x. So x is 14. So replace 14 where you have x. So this will be equals to pi times 14 times 14 minus 6 divide 2 and you square it. Okay? So this will be this should give you 8/2, which is 4. Okay. So this is pi multiply 14 multiply 8/2 squared. This is pi multiply 14 multiply 4 squared. And that should give you 224 pi. Okay. And then if you change it to decimal, this should give you 703.716 ellipses, and then cubic centimeter. Then you round to the nearest tenth. You circle the first digit after the decimal. You underline the digit after the circle. We are not adding. Our answer is 703 and 7/10, and then cubic centimeter. Cubic centimeter, and you box your answer. Okay. All right, let's move on. Now here, we are finding volume of what? Cylinder. Okay. So volume of cylinder equals to base area times height, which equals to pi r squared height, which equals to pi. Do I know my radius? Yes, my radius is x. I need to square it, and then I need to multiply with 3x plus 4. So this you can expand by doing distributive property. So you distribute all of this inside here, but you can also stop here. So it depends on how the choices have been written. The best answer is for you to expand this completely or simplify this completely. So this will be 3x cubed pi plus 4x squared pi. This will be the best answer. Okay, so here, this would be the best answer, but this can also be your answer. And then cubic what? Cubic feet. And here, cubic feet. All right, then we want to find the volume when x is 3. So this will be 3 parentheses 3 cubed pi plus 4 parentheses 3 squared pi. Okay, then this is 27 times 3 . Anyway, this is 27 times 3. How much is that? 27 times 3 is 81 pi. And this is 9 times 4, which is 36 pi. And then you have 81 plus 36. That should give you 117 pi. So 117 pi, okay? And then this should give us 367.56666, okay? Like that. Then we want to the nearest tenth. We're gonna add 1 here, and our answer is 367 6/10 cubic feet. Cubic feet. And we box our answer. Okay. Question wants volume of a cone. Okay. What don't I have? I don't have radius. So radius equals diameter divided by 2. My diameter is 10. My radius is 5. Very important number. I don't have the height of the cone. So I'm going to draw my right triangle. I know this is 5. I know this is 15. I want the height. I'm going to use Pythagoras theorem. So height equals c squared, the square root of c squared minus a squared. So this is 15 squared minus 5 squared. This is 225 minus 25. This is square root of 200, which is 10 square root of 2. So this is an important number. Okay. Now let's find the volume of this cone. Volume of cone equals to 1/3 times pi times r squared times height. Okay? So this becomes 1/3 times pi times 5 squared times 10 square root of 2. Okay? When you put all this in the calculator, it should give you 1178511. And then you round it according to what the question says. So this will be cubic centimeter. Okay? The question tells you to round to the nearest hundredth, tenth, then you do. Okay? All right. This is a composite shape and it wants the volume. My shape is made up of two shapes. It's made up of a cone and it's made up of a hemisphere. So volume of composite shape will be volume of cone plus volume of hemisphere. So volume of cone, we've agreed volume of cone is 1/3 multiplied by pi multiplied by r squared multiplied by height. We've agreed volume of hemisphere is 2/3 multiplied by pi multiplied by r cubed. I will add them because my two shapes are joined. So I'll first find volume of cone, then find volume of hemisphere, and then add them. This should be 1/3 pi. My radius is 8, so I will square it. And the height of my cone is 17. Then this is 2/3 multiply pi multiply 8 cubed. Okay? Now, this part should give you 1088 pi over 3. And this part should give us 1024 over 3 pi. If you add this together, you should get 704 pi cubic millimeter. If the question does not tell you to round, you stop here. If it tells you to go to decimal, you need to change this to decimal, then change it to decimal. So this will be 704 pi, that will be 2,000 2,211.68. Where's my decimal too far? 0.68122. And you put ellipses and then you round according to what the question wants. Cubic millimeter. Make sure you write neatly so you don't confuse yourself. This should be approximate, okay? If the question does not tell you, actually you need to look at your choices. If your choices is in decimal, then you need to go to decimal. If your choices have pi, then you need to stop here. Okay? Now we want to find the scale factor. Okay? And I've been given area. And my shapes are rectangles. So step one, I know the area of my blue shape. Okay? So I start. Pre-image is blue. Image is green. That is how I start. How do I know pre-image? It's the first shape I saw. It is the shape with all the numbers that I need, all the dimensions that I need. Okay? So pre-image is blue. It is the starting shape also. Okay? And image. So now after I know my pre-image and my image, I need to find scale factor. Scale factor is also called K. And the formula for finding scale factor is image over pre-image. Now I asked myself, what of the image corresponds to the pre-image? And I see over here, it is the length. So image length is what I know, and it will correspond to the pre-image length. So then I put my numbers, which is 5 out of 8. Okay? This is an important part of my formula. Now, I come here. What does the question want? Area of the green shape. So it wants area of the image. And how do I find the area of the image? Area of pre-image and multiply by the scale factor. And because it said area, the scale factor has to be squared. So area of the pre-image according to the question is 32 square centimeter multiplied by 5 out of 8 squared. And that should give us 25 over 2. And this should give us 12.5 centimeters squared. Now, how do I know I am correct? The image is smaller than the pre-image, so the area of the image must also be smaller than the area of the pre-image. And 12.5 is smaller than 32, okay? Now, what do I have? I have the dimensions of my green shape. And my green shape is a rectangular prism. And the question wants me to find the volume, okay? So I start volume of, this is my starting shape, so volume of pre-image equals to base area times height, which is length times width times height. The length is 2, the width is 3, the height is 4. This is 6 times 4, which is 24 cubic centimeter. This is an important value. I circle it because I will need it. Now I will find my scale factor. Scale factor equals K equals image divided by pre-image. Then I go to my shapes and see what do I need. I have length of my blue shape and I have length of my green shape. This is my pre, this is my image. Okay? Now, I want the length of the image to divide with the length of the pre-image. So what is my value of the length of the image? My length is 6. I'm going to divide by 2. And what do I get? 3. Okay. Then what do I do? Now I want to find the volume of my image, okay? So I'm gonna write here, volume of image equals volume of pre-image multiplied by scale factor, but because it is volume, you cube it, okay? Volume of pre-image, we did it over here, we got 24. And you multiply the scale factor, which we got it over here, which is 3. And then you cube it. So this is 24 multiplied 27. And that should give you 648 cubic centimeter. And you box your answer. Okay. Now we have pyramid. Okay. So I have the values, all the values of the blue shape. So this is my pre-image, and this is my image. Okay. So I can start by doing scale factor. Scale factor equals to K, which equals to, what part do I have? I have height. Height of image divide by height of pre-image. Okay. Then image height is 9 divided by 12. If I simplify this, image height is 12. Sorry, it's not 9. Image is 12 and pre-image is 9. If I simplify this, I will get 4/3. This is an important number. Now let me find volume of pre-image. And it is a pyramid. And because it is a pyramid, I will use 1/3 times base area, which is a square. How do I know? I have congruency tick marks. So that is a square. And the perpendicular height is 9. So this will be 1/3 multiply side times side multiply by height. This is 1/3 multiply 6 times 6 multiply 9. And that should give me 108 cubic centimeter. This is important. Okay. Now I want to find volume of image. Volume of image equals volume of pre-image multiplied by scale factor cubed because of volume. So we cube. If it is area, you square. Okay. Volume of pre-image we calculated over here, which is 108. And then you're going to multiply by the scale factor, which you got over here, 4/3 cubed. And when you put this in your calculator, you should get 256 cubic centimeter. And you box your answer. Okay. Here we have our rectangular prism. Okay. So this is my pre-image. And this is my image. Let's find scale factor. Scale factor equals to K, which equals to image over pre-image. What do I know of the pre-image that corresponds to the image? I know the length. So the image length and the pre-image length. When I divide them, they should give me the scale factor. Image length is 3 and pre-image length is 9, and this should give me 1/3. Okay, so all right, let's continue. So now what do I know? I need to find the volume of my pre-image. Okay, so volume of pre-image, and it is a rectangular prism. Rectangular prism is equal to base area times height, which is equals to length times width times height. What is our length? 9. What is our width? 3. What is our height? 3. So this is 9 times 9. This is 81 cubic feet. Okay, this is an important value, and this is an important value I will need. Now, what do I want? Volume of image. Volume of image, which is also a rectangular prism, is given by volume of pre-image multiplied by the scale factor cubed. Volume of the pre-image is 81, scale factor is 1/3, and then you cube it, okay? So this should be 81 multiplied by 1/27, which should give you 3 cubic feet. And you box your answer. Okay? Now I have a cylinder. Okay? So let's find scale factor. Scale factor is equals to K, which is equals to image divide pre-image. What of the image corresponds to the pre-image? The height. Those are the measurements I have. So image height and pre-image height. Okay, you put your values. This is your pre-image. This is your image. So image is 5/10, which is the same as half. Then now you need to find the volume of the pre-image. Volume of pre-image, and it is a cylinder. So you're going to do cylinder is base area times height. Your base area is a circle, so you're gonna do pi r squared, gonna multiply by the height. So this is pi 5 squared, and you multiply by the height, which is 10. So this is 250 pi cubic centimeter. Cubic centimeter, and you circle your answer. Continue from here. So now we want volume of image. So we're gonna do volume of image equals volume of pre-image multiplied by scale factor. And your scale factor should be cubed. So volume of pre-image is 250 pi. And you're going to multiply by the scale factor, which is 1/2 cubed. Okay? This should give you 125/4 pi. And then this should give you, because we've been told to round. Okay, so we need to change this to decimal. This should be 98 and 1/10, 7477. Circle 1, underline 7, add 1. So this will be 98 and 2/10 cubic centimeter. And you box your answer. And we are done. Okay.